欢迎大家回到我们今天晚上的名校展那么我们今天呢分享的第二所学校是位于美国纽约西北角的 Riverdale Country School 河谷乡村学校。这是一所非常有名的走读学校，在全美的私立高中里面都是非常 top、非常高的行列。它涵盖了幼儿园到12年级的学生，校园环境很好，有非常多的绿树绿荫覆盖，面积呢也非常的宽阔。那么今天跟大家一起分享的是河谷乡村学校的招生主任 Miss Jenna King 女士。So, hi, Miss Jenna King. So, thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your time outside of business hours, and we are very excited to learn more about your school in the next 45 minutes. So after your presentation, we will leave about 5 minutes in the end for the Q&A session, if that's okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for including me in this evening's fair. It's wonderful to meet all of you. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about my school and about the admissions process in general and answer any questions that you might have about the program. If it's okay, I'll do a little bit of an overview of my school. And Sunny, I do have a couple of videos to share later on. If I can share my screen, that would be great. If that works, and then we'll see what questions come up. But I thought I would start out just giving a little bit of an overview. Oh, you go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so thank you so much for the great introduction. I just would like to take a minute to help our audience to understand what you're saying by translation. 是这
Perfect.
样
No
的，真的老
problem. Yep.
师，Yeah, that's great. 真的老师刚才跟大家问好，非常高兴可以来到今天晚上的活动。老师呢，待会儿会分享他的屏幕来跟大家放一些学校相关的 video，就是录像。然后呢，也会在结尾非常开心能够来回答大家的相关问题。Okay, that's great. And you can
Okay.
feel free to share screen.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I've been at Riverdale a very long time. This is my 19th year at Riverdale.
Wow.
And I oversee admissions here. And in addition to working in admissions, I have three children who attend the school. So I've had the privilege of knowing the school both as a teacher and administrator and also as a parent. Do you want me to pause there, Sunny?
Oh, yes, that would be great.
Okay.
这样的，刚才真的老师介绍了自己跟学校的一个渊源。他今年已经是他在河谷乡村中学工作的第19年了。他不仅是咱们招生官 admissions 的一部分，同时呢，他还有3个小孩儿。都之前在这个学校上学，也可以看出来哈，真的老师的家庭对这个学校非常认可。他在这个学校呢当过老师，现在当招生主任，同时也是这个学校的家长。他非常希望呢，可以通过这些不同的角色还有体验，给大家分享他对于河谷中学的一个认识。Yeah, that's great. You can continue.
Okay, wonderful. So just a little bit of an overview of our school. We are a pre-K through 12th grade school located on two beautiful campuses in the Riverdale section of the Bronx. And we're very lucky to have the gift of a lot of space, which I'll share with you some videos that will show you that space in a few minutes. Just to give some statistics about the school and tell me when to pause, we have about 1,260 students, and we're an all gender school. And what that means is that we have one small section of pre-K with about 16 students. We expand, and kindergarten through 5th grade, we have about 60 students per grade. We expand again to about 85 students per grade in 6th grade and just a little bigger than that in 7th and 8th grades. And then in high school, we expand to about 135 students per grade. Even though that sounds very large compared to some of our peers, we try very hard to keep the class sizes very small. So at the lower school, there are about 20 students per class with 2 teachers in each classroom. And in the middle and upper schools, it's about 16 students per class. But we're lucky to have a student to teacher ratio of about 5 students to one teacher so that we really get to know our students. I'll pause there. It's a
Yeah,
lot
thank
of numbers.
Yeah, there are a lot of numbers. So that's also why I'm kind of need to check with you before I do the translation. So
No
if I
problem.
understand correctly, the teacher student ratio is 1 to 5 in general. And
Mhm.
then there are about 150 students in every grade for high school. Is that right?
About 135, 135.
135. Okay, that's good.
Mhm.
Okay, I will do the translation. 啊，
Okay.
大家主要介绍一下这个学校的一个学生的名额，还有学校校园啊。那么首先呢，这个学校呢是从幼儿园到12年级都有的，幼儿园、小学、初中还有高中。它一共有2个校园，都是在 Riverdale，就是河谷这里在纽约的 Bronx 这个区域。那么待会儿呢，其中一个真娜老师会分享的视频是关于学校的 space，就是校园这里非常漂亮的一个校园，待会儿大家一定会喜欢的。那么在 statistics，就是数据这个方面呢，也想跟大家进行一个分享。这个学校整体是有1260个左右的学生，它呢在男孩儿、女孩儿都是有的，它是一个所有的性别我们都可以招收的一个学校。那它的比较小一点的孩子呢，就是幼儿园的孩子呢，他是差不多每一个班是，is that about like 60 students for every grade for kindergarten?
Yes.
OK，在幼儿园的孩子呢，他每个年级差不多有60个学生。那么到小学之后呢，每个年级的人会相对多一些。到6年级的时候呢，会有85个左右的学生。在中学7、8年级的时候呢，我们又会有更多的学生。那么直到高中的时候，我们高中9到12年级，每个年级呢是有135个学生。虽然说我们现在越往高年级走，我们的学生人数会相对越多，但是学校还是会让我们的课堂人数变得非常的少，所以我们这个学校整体来说，学生和老师的比例是1:5。所以每一个学生都可以有老师的重视，也可以很好的去参与到我们的课堂当中。那么我们其实在这个里面也想跟大家介绍一下，在学校的小学差不多是22个学生一个班他在上课的时候，那么我们在初中、高中呢，差不多是15、16个学生在每个课堂当中。Okay, that's great. I know that's long
No,
translation.
that's a lot. It's a lot of numbers. That's okay. So I think one of the most important things about our school is that it's a diverse community in a lot of different ways. So our students come to us from a lot of different areas around the New York City region, from about 117 different zip codes within the New York City area. And then, of course, we also have families who move from outside the area to join our community. About 44% of our students identify as students of color. And we represent over 70 different nationalities. So I think that's an important piece for people to understand that it's not all the same type of students who are here. We have students with different family structures, different interests, different learning styles. All of those things are very important to us as we put together the community.
Wow, 75 nationalities. That's a really big number. 现在真的老师呢有强调，这个河谷乡村中学呢在多元化还有全球化做得非常的好那么光是纽约附近的家庭呢，都是从非常不同的区域来的。那光是纽约附近呢，学校的家庭的地址就有超过117个邮政编码，所以大家可以想一下。非常多，这附近的家庭都是愿意来让孩子在河谷乡村中学进行一个很好的教育的。那么除了纽约周围的家庭呢，也有一些外州、跨州的家庭愿意把孩子送到 Riverdale 河谷乡村中学来，让学生呢加入这个非常多元化的学校集体。那么学校有超过45%的学生是我们的有色人种学生，以及我们学校的所有学生都是 来自不同的国家、不同的文化的。那么我们目前的学生里面有超过75个不同国家、不同文化背景的学生。那么这些学生除了文化方面呢，我们的这个家庭结构啊、兴趣爱好啊，还有学习方式的话呢，也都是多种多样的。Yeah, let's continue.
Okay, wonderful. So, as families get to know our school, I think it's important to understand a little bit about what we value at the school.
Mhm.
We believe that our goal as a school community is to help our students thrive so that they can make change in the world. That's a big part of our mission. And we do that by focusing on three key areas, which are mind, character, and community. And I'd love to just say maybe a word or two about each of those. And then definitely, Sunny, tell me when to pause, and I'm happy to do that. Do you want me to pause there just for a
Oh, yes,
second?
please. Yeah,
Okay.
before we go into the key areas. 所以现在呢，老师从学校的一个学生名额和情况呢，现在我们转到了学校的一个教育理念和价值观。那么真的老师认为，家长应该要理解学校的一个主要的价值观呢，就是帮助学生来提升自己，从而我们对这个世界进行改变，make changes，对吧？进行一个很大的改变。那么，怎么样学校来帮助学生呢？主要是从3个主要的区域。那么，第一个就是我们的 mind 思想，那第二个呢，就是我们的 character 性格、个性特征。第三个呢，community 我们的学校集体。OK，that's great。
Okay, so I'll speak about each of those areas. So when we talk about mind at our school, we see that we believe that we provide a high challenge and high support environment. In other words, we really want to push our students to try their best and to experience new things and to think in new ways, but we also want to support them as they do that. And so we have a lot of people in place to help them in those areas. We provide an academic space that is very hands-on and experiential. We want our students to not just sit passively and receive education. We want them to be engaged and involved in it. Um, I would say people sometimes ask if we're traditional or we're more progressive, and I would say we're definitely somewhere in the middle with elements of each of those. And we're a school that has been described as thoughtfully evolving. In other words, we're not the same school that we were when I started at Riverdale 19 years ago. We're constantly thinking about how we need to change the program to serve our students well. I'll just say one more sentence on that and then I'll pause, Sunny.
Mhm.
I think our focus is not just to give kids facts and figures to memorize. We're a school that really believes that learning is about knowing how to think and knowing how to ask good questions and knowing how to work collaboratively. And so our educational program emphasizes all of those things. You're not going to come to our school and just memorize for a test. You're going to be asked to do something with what you've learned. So I'll pause there before I go on to character and community.
Yeah, that's great. 所以首先呢，真的老师对于我们刚才说的3个主要培养孩子的领域，进行了第一个领域的一个介绍。首先，我们是 mind，就是我们的思考、思维模式和学习方法，对吧？首先呢，这个学校和五乡村中学非常注重来 push 我们的学生。就是他要有很高的挑战在学术方面，但是同时呢，学校也会非常给学生很多很多的支持。那也就是说呢，他在每一节课上，我们学生不会只是简单的学他们学术的知识和新的东西。那么我们希望给学生提供的学术这方面的呢支持呢，其中就会包含说我们要动手来操作，对吧？比如说像是实验啊，或者是我们实践性的一些小组项目啊等等的。 我们来帮助学生通过自己动手来提高自己的教育质量，学到更好的东西。那么也有很多学生的家长会问指导老师说：“你们学校是更传统的呢，还是更新鲜实验性的这样的教学方式呢？”那么指导老师的回答呢是说：“我们在这两者之间。”对吧？我们不完全是一个传统的学校教学模式，我们也不完全是一个现代实验性的教学模式，我们是在中间有一个很好的平衡的。我们呢一直在去对我们的项目、学校的项目进行一个改变，进行一个提升，目的呢就是要教会学生如何来帮我们的这个学生提高他的批判性思维，怎么样去思考，怎么样去问很好的问题，怎么样呢可以进行这个团队合作。我们在教学过程中，并不只是让孩子去死记硬背，更多的呢是要强调我们刚才说的这些方面的提升和提高。Yeah, that's great for the mind. And we can go on for the character.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm.
Okay, so in terms of character, we believe that, of course, you have to develop your mind, but you also have to know how to understand who you are as a person and what you bring to working with a team and with other people. And so we do try to practice things like empathy and kindness and respect and open-mindedness. And those are all important things that we believe our students should have. But I think the other piece of that is that we really want students to understand their own character. And so through a number of activities and feedback to students, we try to help them understand what their own character strengths are so that they know what they're bringing to a team. So for example, I might be really good at working hard, and that may be a character strength of mine, is sort of perseverance and industriousness. Other people might bring sort of a resilience or a collaborative nature to the work. And so we really want students to pause and understand those aspects of themselves in addition to just developing cognitively. We believe that that personal development is as important as the development of the mind. And we don't think that learning that gets in the way of the academic studies. We believe very much that it complements it.
Yeah, of course, I agree. 就是接下来呢，我们在讲第二个和五中学非常重视孩子去发展的一个点，也就是他们的 character，他们的性格和品质。那么 Gina 老师也讲求了这个性格品质上面，除了让他们要学习到一些很具有普世价值的，比如说 empathy 同情心、kind 善良、respect 尊重、open-mindedness 也就是我们的开放性思维。除了这些我们很具有普世价值的之外，我们也希望可以去鼓励我们的每个学生，可以去更好的明白并且探索他们自己的个人的个性优势，还有他们的品质的长处是在哪里。真的老师认为，我们这个普世价值观的性格和了解他们自己的个性性格都是非常重要的，是同等重要的。比如说呢，像是有些学生，他们可以 work hard，对吧？他们非常的努力，他们用功。那他们对于以后的团队合作的价值呢，就是他们可以带来他们就是积极还有努力这样一方面对于团队的影响。那么也有一些学生呢，他们可能是非常的有 resilience，是吧？他们可以在这个有恢复力抗压能力还有毅力这个方面，他们非常擅长那么他们在团队的这个合作过程中，也可以因为他们自己的性格品质，给团队带来很好的影响。每个学生都是不一样的，那么除了培养大家要有一些共同的特质之外呢，我们也要让他们明白自己的特质和长处在哪里。Okay, that's great.
Okay. So the last piece is community. And I think we're growing up in a world where students could do education at home with their desk, at their laptop and without the other piece. But I think so much of what we do is being part of a diverse community. and really helping students to understand their peers in their immediate school community and other kids who are coming to our campus each day. But we also really want them to think about being part of their local community here in the Bronx. And so we have developed a lot of partnerships with other schools and organizations and all of that, where we do service, but also where we connect around various other activities. In addition to that, we want students to understand the wider community, and so we do a lot of global studies and travel, and we get students out into the world understanding what's going on around them. So I think that's a big part of our mission. I will say quickly that being a diverse community, we really focus on looking at what that means and how does it what does it mean to work with people who think differently from you or have different backgrounds from you. And so we help students think through our campus discourse work on how to relate to people with different perspectives and what that means. Lastly, sort of under the community category, I would talk about belonging. And we want all of our students, no matter where they're from, to feel a sense of belonging on campus. And we do that by creating various affinity groups that might help students feel comfortable, whether they're related to a racial background or an ethnic background or gender or something like that. And so we try to help students find ways to connect with other students who are both different from and similar to themselves.
Wow, that's great. Connection with others is definitely one of the things I feel most importantly as a school community. Okay, so
Yes.
do the translation. 接下来呢是珍娜老师进行了第三点关于学校集体建设学校会做出的一些想法以及对于学生的一些培养。那么首先呢，河谷中学是一个非常 diverse 的多元化的一个集体。珍娜老师认为学校很重要的一件事情呢，就是要帮助学生了解自己是处在一个什么样的集体，身边的同龄人都是来自什么样的文化背景，这样的一个理解和对于自己思想的一个提升上面。那么首先呢，学校不仅是让孩子跟他们身边的学生同龄人有接触，同样的呢，也会跟纽约 Bronx 区域的其他学校以及其他的一些社会公益组织也有很多的合作 partnership。那么在这里呢，学生不仅仅可以做一些社区服务 community service，同样的呢，学校也会给学生提供很多的来学习国际化、全球化、多元化的各种内容的一些机会，也会有机会让孩子在其他地方进行游学、实地考察等等的机会，让孩子来更好的去理解我们周遭的我们的社区、周遭的世界。那么同样的呢，除了这些合作之外，学校也非常关注孩子会理解什么叫真正的多元化。多元化到底是什么样的意思？你在你的学习过程中，孩子会有非常多的机会呢，可以来学习到怎么样去跟你思考方式、文化背景不一样的人来进行团队合作和小组协作。那他们在课堂上有这样的机会，在学校的社团上也会有这样的机会。同时，真的老师强调了 belonging，就是我们的归属感。这我也非常同意哈，归属感在一个校园里面真的是对学生，尤其是来自不同文化背景的学生是非常重要的一部分。那么不仅是文化方面的不同啦，可能还有种族啊、肤色呀，还有性别呀等等方面都是有不同的。那么这么多不同的学生，让他们去找到一些方式方法，可以跟他们的同龄人、他们的伙伴、其他学生来一起找到他们怎么样去连接、认识彼此、去接触还有做朋友的一个方式也是非常重要的。那么学校呢，在这一方面也是非常的重视，他们会让每一个学校集体当的学生都找到自己的归属感、自己的 belongingness。Okay, that's great. We can continue.
Awesome. So I think that gives a little bit of an overview of our mission and what we stand for. I thought maybe I'd pause from talking at everyone for a moment and just show a quick video clip just to give a little bit of a feel for our campus. It's just a couple minutes long, but I think it'll give a little bit of a sense of what we're all about. So I'll quickly share my screen there.
OK。
And let's see. Okay.
这里是学校的一个宣传片啊，金娜老师认为它虽然不长，大概是2分多钟，
Oh, do
但是
you want
它可
me to?
以大概给大家看一下我们学校非常美丽的校园长什么样子，以及学校的一个大致校园情况。OK，you can feel free to share that.
Okay.
Home of our language department, as well as a spot where many of our administrative offices are located. We're at the center of campus, and students will pass through here many, many times a day to visit some of those locations for classes or to check in with an administrator like a dean or the head of upper school or the college office. But it's also the way one might get to our cafeteria and also the way one can get to the theater.
I think the
We're
images are
here in
just
the
as helpful
Cohen-Science
as the
Annex, and
audio.
one of the wonderful things
That's OK.
actually have a dedicated lab for each of the grades. The science curriculum is one great way where we bring a lot of our academic and also character building together. The students do a lot of experiments where they have to learn how to work together as teams.
Welcome to the Weinstein Science Building. This is where most of our 9th to 12th grade science classes happen. Often, when you walk around our classrooms, you find our students working together. In the beginning of upper school, our students start by taking biology and chemistry to lay the foundation down for more advanced courses like physics, bioethics, and astrophysics.
I'm standing here in front of Hackett Hall, which is one of the oldest buildings on our campus and also the hub of our middle school life. A lot of growth happens in the middle school. In sixth grade, the sixth graders are traveling with their cohort throughout Hackett and their academic classes. In seventh grade, they actually have their own individual schedules. And as we scaffold their learning for them to be ready for high school, the eighth graders are given a lot more autonomy. Here on the third floor of Hackett, we're standing in a middle school history classroom where they learn about American politics and history. Recently, the seventh grade history course was revamped, and we've made it a very immersive experience where students are, through simulations, getting to role play. So one day they may be learning how to pass a bill in the Senate. We also see students putting on robes and playing Supreme Court justices and deciding some of the greatest case law of our land.
The library is a shared space here on campus between our middle and upper school students. It's filled with books, of course, but it also has many, many digital resources and wonderful librarians here to help students. It's also the home of our math and writing center. When I was a student here, this was actually the outside of the building, and it was a deck that we were able to sit and hang out on with our books and study together. We incorporated the deck into the building several years ago, and it's one of my favorite spots on campus because the facade of the old building is now part of the library, and it's such an amazing architectural feature here.
Okay, so that's just a little visual, but I think a couple of the most important takeaways there are that we really do take advantage of having a campus. And although we have close proximity to New York City, and we do often go on field trips and take advantage of the culture around us, we do love here on campus to use the outdoors, whether it's for an art class and doing photography or for a science experiment, or just having students take a breath in between their classes. There's something very refreshing about that experience. So I think that's an important takeaway. And I think the other one is that having a campus also allows our students to develop a certain degree of independence that you don't necessarily have when you're just in one building all day long. This allows them to really learn how to manage their time and navigate different spaces. And I think having that freedom and responsibility also allows them to just feel like they can have a little bit more of a say in their education. So I'll pause there, and then maybe I'll talk a little bit about our admissions process and show one other quick video before I take questions.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. 刚才放的那些视频呢，指导老师是觉得可以让大家有一个对于学校比较直观的校园环境的一个认知，比如说像是课堂啊等等这些方面的一些照片啊，还有视频素材那么对于这个视频有2点非常重要的，指导老师希望大家了解的内容。那么首先第一点呢，是我们这个学校的校园非常美丽，它离我们的纽约市是非常近的。也就是说，在学生的上课过程当中，会有很多机会在纽约市区一些文化中心、博物馆等等的地方进行这个实体的上课的课堂考察，以及呢，我们学校的校园除了楼非常的漂亮之外，还有很多的 open space、outdoor space，也就是说，我们的户外环境也是非常好的。比如说像是美术课、摄影课、科学课等等这些方面的课程，学生都是有机会走出教室，在我们学校校园各种美丽的地方，可以有一些这个学术讨论呀，或者是在这边进行一些课堂活动啊等等。那么第二点，真的老师希望大家可以去了解的呢，是关于学校对于学生独立性、主观能动性的一个重视。那么学校呢，不只是有一栋楼，它有 multiple buildings，有不同的楼那么这个学生在上课的期间是需要穿梭在不同的课堂、不同的楼宇当中的。那么对于学生的自主管理、个人管理、时间管理等等这方面的能力是非常重视的。他需要在不同的空间里面去管理好自己的时间、自己各个方面的一个个人计划、个人的日程表。那么在这个方面呢，学校也是非常注重的，看看孩子是不是有这个主观能动性和个人的能力。那么接下来呢，郑大老师会跟我们聊一聊关于 admission process，就是关于我们的这个申请的过程。Okay, yeah, let's talk about that.
Sorry, I had myself muted. Okay. So I would love to speak about our admissions process for a few minutes. In a lot of ways, the admission process has a lot of steps to it and is somewhat complex. But the reason for that is because it's really designed to go with our mission. We want to understand who our applicants are as students and as people, much like I talked about the mind, character, community piece before. We also believe that the admission process is not just about making a decision of do you get into the school or not, but really helping us to understand you so that when you come into our community, we know how to support you and we know how to prepare our teachers and others to work with you. So that's an important part of our process. We have an online application which is available from our website. It's a basic biographical form. We're not asking for a lot of parent or any parent essays or anything like that. But it shouldn't be too lengthy a process to fill that out. Beyond that, for middle and upper school, we're asking the students to fill out an essay or a series of essays, and that will all be available online as well. And we ask for that to be done by the student so that we get a better sense of who they are beyond what their academic records will show. We do also want to get a sense of who they are as students, and so we ask for report cards from the previous year and the current year. We ask for recommendations from the current teachers, from this year's teachers. We are also asking in ninth grade for a recommendation from a friend or a peer. And that's really so that we get to know who the student is. Again, as a community member, the friend is not going to rate them in math or their writing, but they're going to maybe tell us a story that gives us a better sense of the student. We do believe in testing, and the reason for that is it gives us some more information about a student and it gives us a writing sample. So we are asking for the ISEE or the SSAT. We don't have a preference, either one is fine. Then lastly, our interview process. That's probably our favorite part of the process. And that looks a little bit different depending on which grade the students are applying to. And I can say quickly in lower school, It's going to be a one-on-one interview with a member of our team and the student, followed by time with the parents or guardians. In 6th grade, it's going to be a it's going to be a group interview, which we're doing in person this year, but if families cannot travel, we can certainly do that online. And then in 7th grade up, there will be a one-on-one interview on Zoom, and then time with parents. And then for 9th grade, in addition to the one-on-one interview, we're also doing a group interview. And I'll just say a quick word about that. We added these group interviews a few years ago for the major entry points because we like to see who a student is when they're around a group of peers, because that's such a rich part of our academic program here. So it's a little confusing when I describe it that way, but what I can say is that online, the steps are laid out very clearly depending on the grade, and we're always happy to answer questions that families have about the process. But again, it sounds complicated when it's all of the grades together, but when it's just the grade you're applying to, I hope it'll be clear. I'll say quickly, there are a lot of steps, but we feel like it really gives us a sense of what our applicants are all about, and hopefully, at least through the group interview process, gives you a chance to also experience how we do teaching and learning at Riverdale. So I'll pause there, and then I know the chat is full of questions, and I'm happy to take some of those afterwards.
Yeah, of course, I will do the translation and we have the Q&A session. 所以刚才真的老师呢，对于我们如何申请有什么样的要求，以及我们需要提交哪些材料，进行了一个非常细致的阐述哈。首先呢，我们 Riverdale 这边河谷乡村的招生官非常希望能在我们申请者的这些申请书，然后还有我们面试等等这些过程中，来了解他们到底是什么样的孩子，他们的各方面的品质和特征。首先呢，真的老师强调了，整个申请的过程并不只是说你是不是能来到我们学校，我们学校是不是会给你发 offer，更多的呢是，如果你要来加入我们学校的集体，我们需要在申请的过程中了解你是谁，你的学习方式是什么样子的，你会需要我们给你提供什么样的帮助。这样子的话呢，我们才能够更好的了解，如果你来了我们学校，我们应该怎么样的去提前准备各方面的内容，比如说让老师了解你，让老师来更好的帮助你在这个学校的学习以及等等方面的。那么在学校的官网上面呢，真的老师提到了有一个biographic form，这样可以大概让您和您的家庭还有孩子了解一下学校到底是有多少比例的哪个种族啊、性别呀等等方面的学生。学校呢是不要求家长文书的，但是对于中学和高中的孩子是要求学生提供学生的文书的。如果对于学生的文书题目有什么问题或者是说该如何写，也可以加一下我们的小助手，我们可以给您更多的细节。除了我们刚才说的文书这方面呢，我们也有学生的成绩单，非常重要。去年和今年的成绩单都是需要提供的，还有推荐信。那么很特别的一点呢，就是我们河谷中学这边提到的推荐信，不只是学生现在老师的，更多的呢还是比如说9年级学生，我们除了老师的推荐信之外，还需要他的一个朋友，他的同龄人来给他写一封推荐信，这样可以帮助招生官来了解，除了学术方法之外，这个学生有什么样的性格，他的社交属性是什么样子的，一些非学术方面的品质，学校也非常希望可以提到。那么除了这些方面呢，学校也会要求学生提供 ISEE 或者 SSAT，两个都可以。只需要选一种，学校没有任何的，就是对于两种没有任何的一个偏好哈，两个都可以。还有呢，就是学生的 writing sample 之前在课堂上写过的一些文章，最好是带有老师的评语，可以提交给学校，看看学生的写作水平。 以及学校会有一个面试的过程那么根据年级的不同，学生会有 one-on-one，就是一对一的面试，或者是 group interview，也就是一个集体的可能是4、5个学生一起的一个面试。那么通过这个集体面试，学校的招生官可以很好的来了解到咱们孩子跟其他的同龄人在一起，共同完成小组课题等等方面的内容是一个什么样子的情况，孩子的性格，孩子在小组合作工程当中的一个个人情况和细节那么在这个我们的申请过程当中，如果您有更多的问题，您可以在学校的官网去进行一个调查，或者你也可以加一下我们 In America 的小助手，给您进行更好的一个1对1的解答。我们也可以帮您继续问更多的问题，跟学校保持一个很好的沟通。那我们现在呢，可以进行到我们的一个 Q&A session，我们最后一个问题和解答环节。我知道我们的这个 Zoom chat 里面有非常多的问题，那么首先the first question, the first one. So for the students applying to years, there are different entry point that Riverdale School has. How many space and opening do you expect to have for the entry year?
Yeah, so good question. So I think and I should start at the lower school, Sunny.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so in pre-K, 16 spaces. In kindergarten, about 45 spaces. It's not clear yet in grades 1 through 5. It will depend on how many students might be moving or things like that. What I can say is our second grade is very tight on enrollment, so I don't know that we're going to have openings in next year's second grade. In sixth grade, we'll have about 20 to 25. In seventh grade, we'll have about 10. Eighth grade will be like first through fifth grade. We'll see what happens. Ninth grade will be about 40 to 45. And 10th and 11th grade is really dependent upon, if students are moving or leaving or things like that.
Okay, that's great.我们现在来说一下名额的这些问题。首先呢，在我们的幼儿园的部分，基本上是有45个左右的学生名额那么我们小学的时候呢，1到5年级现在不能确定，因为这个要看我们的前一年升上来的学生，他们是不是选择继续在我们的Riverdale学校进行继续的一个学习。2年级的话呢，Jenna 老师专门强调了一下，2年级的名额非常紧张，基本上是很多学生都是愿意继续在Riverdale学习的，所以希望除了2年级升上来的学生之外对吧？除了2年级之外的家长可以考虑一下我们这个Riverdale的申请。那么6年级呢，每年大概是20到25个名额，7年级10个名额，8年级呢是一定要看我们7年级有哪些学生继续选择在Riverdale读书，我们才能看他空出来有多少名额，是吧？跟小学的这个情况很像。9年级又是一个我们的 entry point， 9年级我们是40到45个名额，10年级和11年级呢，就是要看我们之前9年级上来的学生是不是选择继续在学校进行这样的一个学习，然后才能来看我们的这个名额情况。那么第二个问题 ，Okay, so the second question would be, how many international students do you have, in terms of student ratio and the college matriculation?
Sure. So in terms of the international students, it's actually really hard to measure because a lot of students identify as international. If a family member was born out of the United States, or if they were born out of the United States, or if they've lived abroad. And so it's really hard for us to track that. What I can say is we do have a small handful of students who are receiving I-20s from us. So if we mean international in that way, it's a small number of students, but there are a lot of students who have either lived abroad or have family members who have been born outside of the United States. In terms of college matriculation, I think the best thing is for me to put a link in the chat from our website, because that's probably the best, most helpful information there. So I'll just, I'll cut and paste that into the chat. Let's see, I'll put it there. That has a list I would say in terms of college matriculation, our students do a very good job of going to a wide variety of schools, and we take a lot of pride in the fact that they're not all going to just one type of school. They'll go to, large schools. They'll go to small liberal arts colleges. They'll go to, tech type of colleges and universities. So they really go to a wide variety.
Yeah, thank you. That's really detailed information.首先来说一下学校的这个升学的情况。刚才呢，Jenna 老师也发了一个网站链接在我们的 Zoom Chat 里面，大家可以点击这个链接，然后来可以看到学校最近几年从17年到22年一个升学情况哈。Jenna 老师说到，他非常自豪的可以跟大家讲，我们河谷中学毕业的这个学生呢，都是去了不同的非常好的学校，有一些是去了文理学院，有一些去了综合性的大学，那他们的专业呢，也都是分布的非常广哈，从理工科到人文社科，再到医学都是有的那么您可以来看看学校网站上的信息，如果您对英语没有非常的擅长，您也可以加我们的小助手，我们来给您提供一些翻译和1对1的咨询。那么另外一点呢，是关于我们的 international student 国际学生的一个情况。Gina 老师呢是说学校是提供给国际学生 I20的，但是我们目前提供 I20的学生是比较少的，我们竞争还是很激烈的哈。但是呢，来说这个学生是不是国际学生的方式和定义也有很多。有些学生呢，他可能是出生在国外，但是现在他跟家庭居住在美国。有些学生呢，他可能是在国外有过一段的居住的经历，现在又回来了美国，但是他是美国护照，对不对？也有一些呢是这个学生的爸爸妈妈或者是家庭成员之前是出生在其他国家的，后来才来了美国的，那他们可能也是有一些国际背景的，所以我们的整体的学生人数里面。有国际背景的学生有很多，但是我们拿着 I20的我们这个从政策和这个法律意义上面说，I20的国际学生还是比较少的。对，这是我们的这两个问题。Okay, so thank you so much for answering the questions with so many details thoroughly, and it was a really wonderful presentation. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Hearing lots of the great information from you, it is a great experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for attending. And we do have some open houses coming up just for Riverdale, and those are all on our website. And so we invite families to join virtually, and we will be also offering some in-person tours coming up later this fall. So thank you so much for including me tonight. It was a pleasure. And I think I see there's a question about how far apart the two campuses are. They're about a mile from one another. So not far, but not really walking distance either. So anyway, thank you so much for including me tonight, and thank you for the brilliant translation. And I look forward to meeting all of your families later this year.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is our pleasure to have you in our event tonight.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you. 首先呢，先跟大家大概介绍一下刚才 Jenna 老师说非常感谢今天晚上有这个机会，在我们的K12的 Fair 里面跟大家进行这个讲座。最近呢，Riverdale 也是有一些 Open House 的这个开放日，大家可以去注册。我们这边呢也可以帮您去注册，您可以来跟我们联系。比如说像是1对1的一些问答环节，还有在学校的一些访校的情况，都是可以带大家去看一看的。那么不在纽约附近的家庭呢，也可以注册他们线上的一个访校的机会，都是很好的一个活动。另外就是在这学校的2个 campus 2个校园之间它的这个距离呢不是可以走路或到达的，但也没有非常远，大概是1个 mile 1个英里这样子的一个距离学生还是可以在2个校园之间feel free to travel， 对吧？可以在2个校园之间有不同的一些学术机会等等这方面的。Okay, thank you so much. That was about the closing translation.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Bye, thank you.